Programming on 90.7 WKGC and the Commodore Sports Network is sponsored by Sweet Bay. Sweet Bay is a bayfront village in Panama City that features parks, walking trails to the water, a future town center, and more. A community connected at the water's edge, Sweet Bay. More information about Sweet Bay online at sweetbayfl.com or 844-35-SWEET.
This is Coach's Corner.
Welcome, Commodore fans, to Coach's Corner, a production of Gulf State College and the digital media program here. We want to thank the folks at Sweet Bay for underwriting Coach's Corner. Today, Coach Phillip Gaffney, the new men's head basketball coach, is joining us today. So we thought we would do a special show and talk about how he got here, his coaching career, and kind of what the Commodore fans have to look forward to. So welcome, Coach.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad to be here.
So you, in this case, coached 21 years, came from Georgia Highlands, went to Georgia Highlands as a head coach, athletic director, and started a program from scratch, correct? That's
correct. Absolutely. It's funny. Georgia Highlands I thought would be my last stop. It was a great opportunity. I've done that at a couple other schools, so it was a great opportunity at Georgia Highlands. My daughter at the time was at Eckerd College in Florida, so we were trying to get closer to Florida. My wife has friends and family here, so we wanted to get to Florida, and I was coming from North Carolina at the time, and so started the program at Georgia Highlands, and as the athletic director and the basketball coach, it's kind of your baby. You get a chance to build it from scratch. It's different than taking over for someone. You actually get to build it and see it grow, and you're really invested in the program. And in fact, I was invested in all the programs, being the director of athletics. And then the programs did really, really well there. And my wife wanted to be closer to the beach. She wanted to be Florida, has family here and friends here. And so she said, would you think about applying here? And she said that saw that the job was open. And I think everybody's always thought Gulf Coast was a great job, being in Panama City and Florida. And Coach Powell had built a pretty good base here. So I think it was an exciting job, an enticing job. And I didn't know anybody, so I said I'd just throw my hat in the ring. And then lo and behold, I came down and interviewed and got the phone call saying, hey, I told my wife, here's the phone call. I think we're going to get it. Do you really want to move? And she said, absolutely. It's where I want to be, Panama City, Florida. So we accepted the job, and here I am. So came in May, late start, tough time to come in. But Gulf Coast is a great place to work. I've been here 38, 39 years. Wow.
So it is a great place. Panhandle Conference, probably one of the premier conferences in the country to play in and coach in and be a part of. Now, at Georgia Highlands, brand new program, 3 national tournament appearances.
We did. We had a Final Four, Sweet 16 in a 3-year period. So it was very exciting to get it going and get it. We got to where we were pretty much nationally ranked every year and being pretty competitive every year, and sent a lot of guys to mid-major, major Division I, and several guys go play pro basketball. So we were very fortunate. I had great players and great assistant coaches, and they did a great job of getting those players there, and we were able to have a measure of success. It was pretty exciting at Georgia Highlands.
So that's what I was looking receiving votes this year in the national poll.
This year they're receiving votes, and they're actually coming down here to play. So it'll be interesting playing against my former assistant coach.
So in that case, now let's talk a little bit about the national tournament. Play in Hutchinson, Kansas. Herman and I have been doing this for a long time. We've never had the privilege to go to Hutch and do a ball game, and you've been there. What's it like to go to Hutch?
It's super exciting. It is just great. And the first time we went, it was our 3rd year. So, 3rd year of a program to be going to Hutch was pretty amazing. And we were a very low seed. We ended up having to play Barton out of Kansas. They're an hour away from Hutch. So it wasn't the best draw in the world, and they had a bunch of mid-major, major D1 guys, and we happened to beat them. And then second, our reward for winning with that was CSI, and they were ranked 2nd or 3rd that year. And they're one of the premier programs in the country. They've won 4 national championships, and they had a ton of big-time players. So all the big-time coaches were sitting in the front row. My guys are looking, and they're seeing the guys. Well, we beat CSI on a shot with 5 seconds to go. So now our reward for that is to play Hutch at Hutch. So So they had about 7,998 fans, and we had about 2 moms from Georgia who packed the house for us. And then we beat Hutch at Hutch. And then our reward for that was to play Northwest Florida. And in that game, we were up 15 with 7.5 to go. And we almost started, I think, getting ahead of ourselves, thinking, oh my gosh, we're playing the national championship. And I really thought we were probably the 2 best teams in the country that year. And that kind of was maybe at that point in time for the national championship. They came all the way back in overtime, tied us, went to overtime. They called a foul on us with 0.8 seconds on the clock on a 94-foot heave throw, which was very controversial. And we ended up losing it. Northwest won it. We had to sit and watch them win the national championship and cut down the nets the next day. So kind of a tough, but it was a great experience for a third-year program. And then the next 2 years, Final Four, Sweet 16. So we were real fortunate. We had a 3-year period where we won the most games in the country, and just to get to go to Hutch those years and to get those experiences were magical, especially for the kids. Of course, as coaches, we wanted to go, and our administrators, our school, we had a lot of folks travel. But for the kids to get that experience, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Hutch is a truly remarkable place. They've been doing it there for 70 years, and they really go out of their way to make it a great experience, not only for the kids and the coaches, but just for everybody.
So, and when you go to Kansas and play, because the women's tournament for years was in Salina, Kansas.
Right down the road.
And when you drew one of those Kansas teams, it was like, ooh. So for you to go there and accomplish those things in a 3-year program is pretty remarkable. And some would say, well, he doesn't know what it's like playing a Panhandle Conference. Well, you played Northwest Florida State College.
We sure did. and just to let you know, we came down and played at Northwest 3 straight years. In fact, the next year I think we were ranked like 8th in the country preseason, and they were 1, and we came and played them on their court. But in the Panhandle, we played Chipola twice and beat Chipola twice. We scrimmaged Pensacola and beat Pensacola. We played Gulf Coast. And we beat Tallahassee twice. We were 2-0 against Tallahassee. So we've played pretty much all of Panhandle and had some measure of success against everybody, unfortunately, except for Northwest Florida. We never could beat them. And Coach DeMayo was a great coach, and he had great teams. And and again, all the times we come play these guys, 99% was in Florida. We couldn't get anybody to come up to Rome, Georgia to play, so we had to come down to Florida. So we're used to playing the Panhandle teams, and they're all super talented. Just seeing them this year, seeing Chipola and Tallahassee Northwest and Pensacola and the talent they have, it's scary. They're awfully good. So we're going to have to really be on our job to go and beat those. And the way to get to Hutch is you have to get to the state tournament. And get to the state tournament, got to finish 1 or 2. So we know what our job is, our work cut out for us. But finish 1 or 2, and you got to give yourself an opportunity.
You got a chance there to do that. So now you coached at several places before you went to Georgia Highlands. Let's talk. Share a little bit about those experiences.
Well, yeah, I've been coaching almost 30 years. To start off, I was a NCAA coach. I never dreamed I'd be coaching in junior college. I started off at a D3 school, Brockport State up in New York. That's my alma mater, where I started coaching as a grad assistant right out of college. And then I actually coached at a Division I school, Maryland Eastern Shore, down in Princess Anne, Maryland. So that's kind of where I was. And I was 26 years old and got that itch, as we all do when we're 26. We know everything. In reality, we don't know anything. And I wanted to be a head coach. And our staff got let go at Maryland Eastern Shore. The AD said, you can come back if you want. But a new staff was coming in, new head coach was coming in. And I said, well, maybe it's time for me to look at something else. I've been the Division I assistant, been Division III assistant. Let's be a head coach. I went to a school called Columbia Green Community College. And they hadn't won in 60 games. And it was probably the worst program in all of junior college, and certainly in the state of New York. They had 600 students. It's a tiny itty-bitty school out in the wilderness. And I said, well, that might be a job I can get. So I applied for it, didn't even get it. A friend of mine, Dave Paziak, got it. He turned it down because it was such a bad job. And he said, you're not going to be able to win there. I'm turning it down. If you want it, go ahead. And I was 26. I didn't know any better. So he recommended me for the job. So I didn't get it on my own initially. He got it. Got a chance to get it, ended up doing it. Second year, we were undefeated, had a start season, got ranked 4th in the country, and we did really well there. I was there for 5 years, very happy doing that. And a school a little bit closer to my home in New York, Mohawk Valley, called me up. And they said, hey, we got a job. And Sullivan Community College called me up. They said, we have a job. So now I had to balance it out. Geez, both of them were nice. Sullivan was further from my home. Mohawk was a little bit closer to home. I thought maybe I'll go a little bit closer to family up in Utica, New York. So I took that job, and I was there for 7 years, and we had an unbelievable amount of success. Nationally ranked every year, did very, very well. Very excited to be there, and probably would have stayed there the rest of my life. Just had a really built-in, like 25-win year every year. It was great. My wife got very ill, and she's a double transplant survivor. I won't go into all the details, but I've never been sick a day in my life, and she's had every possible thing go wrong you can imagine. So we said, we need to go to a warmer climate. The physicians told us we had to move. That was the prognosis, move somewhere warmer. Job opened up in North Carolina at Guilford Tech. Never had a program before. Athletic director, basketball coach. And I said that might be something perfect. A little bit warmer, Greensboro, North Carolina. So we moved to Greensboro, North Carolina. I got very fortunate to have gotten the job there, and it helped my wife's health out significantly. And like I said, I was there for 5 years, loved it, and job opened up in Rome, Georgia, in Georgia Highlands, and my daughter happened to be coaching at Eckerd College at the time. And my wife's father was wintering at the time in Florida as well. And my wife had family members and friends, so we said, let's make the move. It was a new challenge for me. Start a new program like I did at Guilford. Like I said, when you start a program from scratch, and it's just kind of your baby, the whole program. So you're invested in the baseball and the basketball and the volleyball. You're invested in everything. So that's how I got to Rome, Georgia, and then my wife really wanted the beach, and that's how we got to Florida. So it's kind of a circuitous route that I took from being an NCAA Division I and III coach down to coach in JUCO. But I think this is like my 24th year of coaching on the junior college level. So it's what I am now. It's kind of what I'm identified with now, but it's all worked out. And you have to be a certain kind of coach to coach at this level. It's a lot different than the NCAA level, and I've really adapted to it and really enjoyed it and really liked it, and so I feel blessed to be at Gulf Coast.
Because at this level, you have a player 1 or 2 years at best.
Correct.
You're always building a team.
Absolutely.
At the 4-year level, you can ride on those players. But
Absolutely.
Here it's changed constantly.
Constantly. In fact, at Georgia Highlands, my last couple of years, I think I had 2 back, 1, 2, and 2. So literally, it's a brand new team every year. We recruit a lot of Division I transfers. Weren't successful as recruiting them this year to Gulf Coast, but with those Division I transfers, they're gone after a year. So it's just, you just don't have it. It's a new team every year.
So in this case, let's talk just briefly about the Panhandle Conference. What's it going to look like from the men's perspective? Northwest Florida has a new men's coach, like you, coming in with a new program, but across the conference.
It's great coaching. Everybody's new, really. Pete at Pensacola, he's the dean of the coaches. But Zach September at Tallahassee is new. And of course, Butch Pierre at Northwest is new. Zach coached the last, I think, 6 or 10 games last year. And Brendan Foley's only been there a year. So really, there's been a huge turnover in the Panhandle. I've gotten to see all of them. They're all doing great jobs. They've been done outstanding job recruiting, all the 4 of those guys coaches. So we're going to definitely have our work cut out for us. But, I wouldn't have come here unless we thought we could finish top 2 and make a run state tournament and get to Hutch, because that's what we want to do. We want to get to Hutch, and we can't match the success of the women's program, but I think Coach Scovel has laid a blueprint for how to get there. And if we follow that blueprint out, I think maybe we'll have an opportunity to get to Hutch and have our kids enjoy that excitement.
Because make it to Hutch would be a nice problem to have a crew in Hutch and a crew in Lubbock to cover those, because used to they were pretty close together.
Yes.
You could slide back and forth.
Yes.
Now they're not so close together.
Not a bit, not a bit. So that would be great. My president, our men's and women's made it when I was at Georgia Highlands, and our president had to fly back and forth to get to all the games. So that would be a good problem for Dr. Holnack to have.
So that would be good there. So, well, Coach, it's been great talking to you. Welcome to Gulf Coast State College, and we can't wait to see the Commodores play.
Thank you, James. I appreciate it.
For Coach Gaffney, I'm James Baxley. We'll be right back, Commodore fans, with Coach Rooney Scovel and talk about the defending national championships and how they played last year and what to expect this year on the Commodore Sports Network.
Programming on 90.7 WKGC and the Commodore Sports Network is sponsored by Sweet Bay. Sweet Bay is a bayfront village in Panama City that features parks, walking trails to the water, a future town center, and more. a community connected at the water's edge, Sweet Bay. More information about Sweet Bay online at sweetbayfl.com or 844-35-SWEET.
Welcome back, Commodore fans, to Coach's Corner. Coach Rooney Scovel and I will talk about the defending national champions, the road in that national tournament last year, and a team that, you know, had every reason in the world just to say we're done, but just battled and battled and battled, and truthfully, just really refused to lose.
Yeah.
So we'll start back. Lady Commodores went in the national tournament as a number 2 seed.
Yeah.
And normally that's pretty good as far as when you play, but here again, they even had to change the scheduling.
Yeah.
So the Lady Commodores, as the number 2 seed, ended up playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
4 games back to back. So Lady Commodores drew Walter State. Walter State 165-51, but Walter State's always is a good ball game.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Had a great post player, and we thought that was going to be a tough matchup, and it was just one of those games, and Dominique Banks came in and just kind of did her thing, took 3 charges, and the girl was in foul trouble, and then we kind of did our thing from there, but she would have been a force to contend with if Dominique had not played so well in the minutes that she gave us in that game.
So you know, in an opening night, had to move, because you have your practice schedule, everything, you set everything in place, and then play, and we were fortunate to move on. And then we play the number 10 seed, which might have been a little higher than the number 10 seed. South Plains, we won 68-66, which that might have been, my opinion, the best game of the tournament. You know, and having to play second round in there. So South Plains, talk a little bit about it, Coach.
Well, you know, I thought that, and of course, South Plains was ranked number 1. That was one of those situations last year where the number 1 ranked team, that thing kind of got rotated out. We never rotated in, but it rotated between New Mexico started the season number 1. Then I think, I don't know, at that point, then I don't know if it was South Plains or Trinity Valley, and, you know, and then Wabash took over before it was all over with. And so that dropped them. And then South Plains didn't win their region tournament. So this national tournament might have been the toughest from top to bottom on the way it looked, because of the way the region tournaments panned out. Because we went into that tournament like the number 5 ranked team, and then the 2, 3, and 4 all got beat in their region tournament. So that moved us up to the number 2. That kind of shook things up a little bit, and then it made those second round games Final Four caliber of play, really, you know. And so that game was really tough. I thought it was probably the best game as far as quality of play. I thought that game, if that would have been the TV game, might have been the marquee game of the tournament, in my personal opinion.
So, now, we talk about South Plains. They're, what, 20, 30 miles from?
They're about 20 miles down the road, because we actually practiced there. You know, that shows a lot of class from Caleb Petrie to allow us to come practice in their venue, knowing that we were in the same side of the bracket. And I don't know if we thought either one of us would play each other, but even during the practice, they were watching us, and at the point that we started running plays, I was like, okay, you guys got to get out just in case we play each other, and darned if we didn't. So, yeah, they right down the street, beautiful Coliseum, but they let us practice. We talked to them. We shared, you know, drills and things with them after the practice was over. So, you know, she's the class act at South Plains, and that was just a classy game. That was, you know, several kids on both teams making great plays at great times. I think there was a zillion lead changes in that game. So that was we definitely made women's basketball look pretty good on that particular day.
That game there, they had a great crowd there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was from every perspective. And from what I understand, she reloaded this year.
Oh, she's really good. She may need to be the team that's sitting at the top, and might be before all this is over. I mean, there's probably going to be a little bit of a carousel in the top 5, top 10 ranking. But you know, we're at the top right now. We got a big target on our back, and we're going to try to stay there for as long as we can.
And then played 2 nights in a row. Played the third night in the semifinal game against Trinity Valley. We seem to play Trinity Valley every year we go. Usually in the championship side, but this time in the semis.
Yeah, it was in the semis. And
177-67. And Trinity Valley's always a tough team to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Always athletic, always kind of like us. They just have that personality of the team of athleticism and running and playing tough defense and attacking and you know, he once again, there were about last two times we've played, we've had point guards that were very suspect to not be able to score from the long range. So he both times they played us, our backup point guards went in and scored. So, you know, it was probably a great strategy, but for whatever reason, both times, both of our backup point guards, Nakia Kinsey went in and scored 18 points in that game, and I don't know if she scored 18 points in 2 or 3 total, you know, in the two tournaments. So, you know, great performance by her, and we advanced and, you know, made it to the championship
game, and then got to play New Mexico.
Yeah.
And New Mexico's not that far from Lubbock, Texas either.
Yeah.
So they had a nice crowd there. They came through the other side of the bracket. You know, they beat Southwestern. Whoops, let me get to the right line. They beat Jones 78-67, and then beat Wabash Valley, the number 1 seed, 63-59, and then played Hutch 160-54 to advance. Lady Commodores ended up winning 68-62. In a real out-and-out battle that was actually broadcast on national TV.
On national TV, yeah, that was interesting. You know, that changed the time of the game too, from a night game to a 11 o'clock a.m. game that to you know, be able to play on TV. That was exciting. It was exciting for all of us, and for JUCO basketball, the first one in history, to know that we were in the one that was the first. That's kind of interesting. And you know, but for us to get to that championship game, like I say, the number 1 ranked team, there was a carousel last year, and New Mexico was at the top at the beginning, and then I don't remember the order, but South Plains was there, and Trinity Valley was there. We had to beat 3 teams that were ranked number 1 in the country at some point in the season to win that national tournament, and we had to win 4 games as all the schedule changed in 73 hours. So you know, when people say, "Oh, at the end of the game," at the end of the game, we were trying not to be tired, but we were tired. So we got a big lead, thank goodness. We got a big lead because I think we had a 16, 18 point lead and ended up only winning by 6 because we were truly running out of gas.
So well, at the beginning, we did, like you said, we jumped out immediately. Couldn't ask for a better start.
No.
Everything was firing. All our shots were falling. We were playing good defense, and New Mexico had to was stunned for a little bit. And then, being the caliber of team they were, they stood up and answered and made their move. Came back. Lady Commodores won and played all of those games. Played at 11, played at 6 the night before. Now going to play the 4th game in less than 24 hours to recover. With a team that just really refused to lose. They had every reason. Gym tore up, having to practice, just drive to another gym to practice. Everything in the world happened, and those ladies just decided that they were going to win no matter what.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting to take a month off and 2 weeks completely away from each other. All that was really kind of interesting when we came back. But, you know, it was a different personality. Of course, we had lost Keyshawn and been to her funeral in September. And, you know, so it was just kind of interesting that when we did come back, that we didn't have the normal battles that you have with a team, you know, with fighting personalities or fighting the motor or the energy. You know, we were all looking at things around us, and we just had a lot of things to be thankful for, and the fact that we could even play some games in our gym before it was over with. And pretty early on, we played a game in November in our own gym and the campus was, you know, devastated, so compromised. Every building was compromised. But, you know, it was just amazing that our personality, the things that they had to go through, and they just never really complained. And we just kind of plugged on and played, and kind of like this year's team, you just went and played the next possession. You didn't get too concerned about what happened before and what was happening next. And with all the glitches with travel and the time changes and whether the bus didn't work at the place or didn't have heat or air or whatever it was, you just couldn't have, you know, you just picked the wrong team for all that bad stuff to happen because we were just so well prepared. That was all just baby stuff compared to what we had experienced in the fall. So we were definitely storm-driven, I guess is a good way to put the last year's.
So that was your 6th national championship.
Yeah.
3 in the past 4 years.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
So that just says a lot, Coach. 6 national championships. came back 1-2 immediately, then an injury away not happening, probably would have won that year, and then last year come back with a team and win. Now, that leads us perfectly into this year's team. This year's team, what little bit I've been able to see them play, looks like a really good team, Coach.
We're talented, you know. Sometimes you get concerned, though. It's like I told them, I don't remember the last time that a Gulf Coast team that was ranked number 1 in the beginning that finished number 1 at the end. And, you know, we've had 6 teams to finish number 1, but I think the 2003 team, we'd have to do our history, and I'll let you media people do that, and I might be wrong. But the 2003 team might be the only team that started number 1 and finished number 1. So if we're all going to look at history, okay, it doesn't look. We didn't want to be number 1. No. We want to be number 2 or something else. But so sometimes when we've had teams that we thought were good, and this is it, and you don't know what's going to happen. We might go out to practice today and lose a player for the season. We've already got two out for one out for the season maybe, and another one that might come back this semester. So a lot of ifs. So, you know, you just go play and practice one day to the next, and hopefully when the season's over, we're playing in postseason play.
So now let's talk a little bit about what came back from last year and what you have that you recruited that's here that you.
Well, you know, for starters, we had, Leah Farsi was our starting point guard last year, and she put in a lot of work, stayed for a summer session, changed her shot, and all of that's kind of coming into live play now. Still a work in progress, but much better. So, and she was the region MVP, of the Region 8 tournament last year. And then Naomi and Bonju is, I think the 5th, rated player in JUCO basketball, and just, like I said, committed to Miami. So, that's our returners, but there's not a lot of offensive production returning. Savannah Salade, came off the bench some last year. Not many significant minutes. We're counting on her a lot this year. Tiana Hutchison and Caitlin Watts, off the bench and didn't get significant minutes. So our offensive production, there's not any returning offensive production from last year. So we had to get it with the newcomers, and thankfully so far the newcomers have replaced that offensive production in a different way, because now it's been from the perimeter and three-point shooting, where last year it was Alexis in the paint and of course Brittany Davis from perimeter shooting. But it's different. The newcomer, one being Layla Grant, being a freshman, who has really just shot the lights out from the long-range ball. 8 for 12 in the last game, 5 for 10 the game before. Hit 6 in her very first scrimmage Jamboree when we started the season. So she's given us some great outside shooting. And then Alana Smith is transferred in from UCLA. She's a University of Louisville commit. So she's averaging, I think, about 34 points a game here for the first 2 games. So we definitely have had some offensive production from some newcomers. And then Tatiana Jones, she's kind of an undersized post player, but had 17 rebounds the other night, big rebound, defensive rebounds. And, and then Deja Gregg, we hope to get in December from a Georgia Tech transfer. That's a lot of offensive production that has come in to hopefully replace what we lost.
Yep. So, and it sounds like almost every position has a really solid player there, right?
We're about 2 deep at every position. Once we get everybody, healthy or everybody eligible, I think we are 2 deep. So, if you can make it to postseason play, that seems to be more important than ever before.
Well, Coach, we've talked through our time.
Great.
So, for Coach Rooney Scovel, I'm James Baxley. Thanks for watching, Commodore fans, and we'll see you next time on the Commodore Sports Network.
This has been Coach's Corner with your host, James Baxley.